Greetings YouTube and welcome to the Blue Corner. As you can tell by the map here, I am talking Vanguard today, and first I'm going to say I apologize for not updating on my How to Vanguard series. I need to get back to that. The next topic I believe I was going to talk about was going to be triggers, and just triggers in general, the good, the bad, how to make use of them and such forth. And then after that, I want to start getting into some more advanced stuff, such as ideal attacking orders, magic numbers, and so on and so on. So I will do that at some point, and then I'm going to talk about some other stuff, like more future things such as the Quintet guard mechanic, and just my thoughts on some of the things that's happening with how the game is going. I'm not going to lie, the power creep is starting to become really noticeable. Like the amount that the game has changed in the short time that Vanguard's been around and where it's going within the next year, it's pretty crazy. And I can only imagine what's going to be happening. Actually, I can't even imagine what's going to be happening when we get to BT16 and beyond, because there's going to be another season of Vanguard coming up and a movie, and who knows what's going to happen when we get Novell here. Novell is such a good deck, such a good monster, the point where Kagero now can't use Conroe as their starter in Japan. Draconic Overlord, the end, is off the restricted list because Novell just does everything better. Like, it's crazy how this game is just, like, it's honestly going to be getting out of control, and I just don't know what Bushiroad's going to do to stop it. But that being said, though, right now, though, we've had a couple new changes to our format. BT10's out, and because BT10's out, we now have access to quote-unquote, one of the best decks ever in Draconic Descendant and Buster. And yeah, I went out and got these things. I bit the bullet on this inside. You know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna get them now because I don't want to try and compete with friends and other people from locals who are going to be trying to build this deck too. So I just went out and ordered the stuff. Shame on me, blah blah blah, but damn it, it's Narukami, and I was gonna get these guys no matter what, regardless of whatever. So I've got arguably one of the best decks. However, the thing to take note of is one reason why I believe Draconic Descendant did so well in Japan for the time that he did, because this thing was really tearing shit up there. Part of that, I think, is because of the Japanese restricted list, where Dote was on it, and so was Magic Lord Blaster and Tsukiyomi and such, whereas here, they're Royal Paladins, Kagero, and Oracle Think Tank, like, they're all at full strength here. The only restriction we have is Barco can't be used as a starter, but whatever. Liberators are the better deck anyway now. Sorry, Royal Paladin fans. That's just my thoughts on it. And that being said, Descendant is still also a relatively new deck in the TCG, where everyone's just trying to find an ideal way to build it. Playing it like Japan does, I don't think is completely correct. 4 Buster and 4 Descendant are just not as good here. I ended up cutting my grade 3 lines down to 3 each, and we're just going to actually go into the deck now. So, like, my build is 3 Descendant, 3 Gauntlet Buster, and 2 copies of Vowling Sword Dragon for the break ride, and the ability to retire a rear guard, and then either give these guys their effects. I'll go over them actually right now. So first we'll talk about the more well-known of the dragons, and that is Draconic Descendant. He is an 11k, and he has 2 abilities. One is the Especial Counterblast it is referred to. The Especial Counterblast is a counterblast that can be used multiple times in a turn, but it requires you to counterblast specifically named cards. In this case, cards with the name Eradicator in the name. So if in my damage zone I have an Eradicator in my damage zone and just a generic Narukami in my damage zone, and I want to use this guy's Special Counterblast, I can't, because I can't counterblast 2 Eradicator named cards in my damage zone. So just a quick note on that, and that's why the entire deck has everything with an Eradicator name in it. So his Special Counterblast, 2 damage, is he gains 5,000 power for the duration of the turn. This is actually kind of useful, as it'll put him at 16,000 attack base, and when you combine it with his other skill, he can potentially swing for just large amount of damage, especially if you break ride him. Then he's a potential 26,000, 31,000, 36,000 if you get really greedy. Like, I don't really like using a Special Counterblast repeatedly, like once a turn, especially if I can like damage him with him, but it helps. But the thing about Descendant that makes him really good is his Limit Break, and his Limit Break is simple. When this card attacks and he doesn't hit, you can discard 3 Eradicators in your hand and counterblast 1 in order to stand it back up and have a gain a critical, and then you can have him attack again. You can only do this once in a turn, but it pretty much puts your opponent on a bit of a clock in that they have to guard this thing twice. If they don't, then they risk you getting a critical on the first attack and killing them anyway. This guy's really good when your opponent is at 4 to 5 damage, or especially when they're at 5 damage and they just can't afford to take either attack. So he's really good in that regard, but he's not so great in the mid to early game. In that aspect, you have Gauntlet Buster Dragon, who's really good in the mid and is actually pretty good at all facets of the game. His special counterblast is counterblast 2 units with Eradicator in their name, and then your opponent picks any of their rear guards and retires it. That in itself is alright. He removes stuff from the field, which works nicely with your other cards. And then the limit break is when you retire something with a card effect, he gains plus 3,000 power and an extra critical. This stacks. So through his own ability, he can be a 14,000 attacker with an extra crit. If you combine him with other retire skills, such as Linchu, then he can be even bigger, especially if you're running things like Dragonic Death Scythe or Cho-Oh, and so on and so on. And that extra crit will force your opponent to just throw more cards down because they don't want to take that extra damage. And it's really nice when you work in tandem with things like this. Excuse me. Where you break ride onto Vowing Sword, he gets the plus 10k. Then you retire a front or rear guard, giving him an extra 3k and an extra crit. Then you can use this as a special counterblast to retire another unit that's another 3k and another crit. So he'd be swinging at 27,003 damage without triggers. With triggers, good God, you just don't know. Of the 2 big Eradicator grade 3s, you could really argue that Gauntlet Buster is just the better guy. But these 2 working together, though, is also pretty sweet. And, yeah, as I mentioned, Vowing Sword is just there for me to get that break right turn. And it just really helps in either of these guys, as they both just force out all kinds of ridiculous shit from your opponent. And I will talk about my starter now, too. I'm running the Ambush Eradicator Linchu. He's got the Call Back to the Field's ability, as all good starters do. And then when he boosts a unit and it hits, you can put him into the Soul, Counterblast 1, and then retire one of your opponent's grade 1 or less rear guards. That's a really good ability, as it knocks out things like 10k boosters and grade 1s that search things like Conroe, if you can get to it first. So that's great. And he also feels Gauntlet Buster skill and other skills. And then for the grade 2s, I'm running 4 copies of my 12k attacker, 4 copies of, what is he called? Supreme Army Eradicator Zuitan. When Zuitan hits, you can soul charge 1 unit and then unflip a damage. And he's just kind of really helpful for continuously allowing you to counterblast. He's also really good in keeping things in the soul for things like Sweep Command Dragon, which is just something to take note of. And he's also part of a superior ride into this Dragonic Descendant that I may try at some point. I'm just liking these guys right now. Normally I would probably actually run 3, but I don't have 4 copies of this. I only have 3, so that's why I'm running like an extra one of these. But you've got this guy. He helps just set up Gauntlet Buster, break riding Gauntlet Buster, and then calling this thing out. Gauntlet Buster goes to basically being a 3k. Just yeah. 4 is really necessary, but unfortunately I only got the 3. It kind of sucks you do have to give up one of your other rear guards in order to get the retire off, so you just gotta kind of be careful on how you use them. And then for the grade 1s, 4 Eradicator Guard Guild Perfect Guards. Yeah, it's the name really. That's the only reason why I'm running this over my other Perfect Guards. And then for the other grade 1s, I'm running 3 of the 10,000 attackers. I actually thought I was running 4, but it turns out I'm not. Instead I'm running 3 copies of Ceremonial Eradicator Castor. When you call Castor into a rear guard circle and your opponent has, is it 2 or less? Yeah, 2 or less rear guards, you can discard a card from your hand to draw a card. And I just kind of like having that ability to just get to my combo pieces faster. You open with 1 too many draw triggers, you can pitch one and draw into a potential grade 2. You're missing piece for a combo. Draw power is really nice, and I'm looking forward to the fact that I'll be getting more draw triggers next set and a grade 2 that when it hits I counterblast 2 to draw a card. Because drawing just helps you get to where you need to be. And then rounding out the grade 1s, I'm running 2 copies of The Shuki, when you retire something, he gains plus 3,000. So, you know, the Break Right turn, he's plus 6,000 and whatnot. And 2 copies of the 10k booster. I should probably consider cutting these for 1 more Shuki and then 1 more Pollux. Or just 1 more Pollux and 1 more Demolition Dragon. I just don't remember where I put my last Demolition Dragon. And well, and then writing out other triggers, just the ones you have available. 8 crits, 4 draw, 4 heal. Next set, I'll be getting a new set of draw triggers, and I'm probably going to put them in. I'll probably go with the same ratios as I did with Dragonic Kaiser Vermilion, where I ran 4 heals, 6 draws, and the rest are crits, just because I like being able to draw into my combo pieces. I've said that a couple times already in this video, and I'm going to say it again. And that's pretty much what I've got right now. This is going to be my deck for the next while. Next set does give us Valving Sword, Dragon Reverse, and I'm going to be trying to pick up a playset of those, as Valving Reverse I feel will be very helpful in dealing with what will become the format known as Link Jokers. Because, going to be perfectly honest with you guys, I'm really fearful of the Link Joker matchup, and I really believe I'm going to have to find a way to play differently with them. Hence, I can't really just go, and that, and that, and that. I can't do this against that deck, because then they'll just triangle lock me down, where I'm only to the point where this guy can attack, and I can't do anything with these guys. So, I'm thinking what I'm going to have to do against that deck is, I'm just going to have to play with 2 columns, so that when they do their triangle lock play, at least on my upcoming turn, I have the chance to at least do this. And at least counterattack for, again, 2 more swings. So that's what I'm thinking I'm gonna have to do to deal with Link Jokers and Infinite Zero Dragon. And then once Chaos Breaker Dragon comes out, ooh, that's another can of worms in itself though. But that's my Eradicator deck. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And until next time, this is BlueStar99, jacking out.